engineers. In the last session, we discussed or we started the Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction. And what is the Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction mathematical equation? It is the time rate of change of flux linkages. So this is the basic equation for mathematical equation for the Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction. And in the previous session, we already discussed about the conditions to get the induced EMF or conditions to produce the variable flux linkages. What are the possible options or possible conditions we got? The first one is, we got the first one as by fixing the number of turns and by varying the flux with respect to time. So this is the first option we got, our first condition. What is the second condition we got? In the second one, by making or by fixing the flux and by varying the number of turns. This is the second possibility. What is the third possibility to get the variable flux linkages? By varying both number of turns and the flux. Both are variable here. So now, among these three, the first two methods are majorly used in our electrical machines. Why? Because we will get the flux variable number of turns in the rotating machines and we will get the variable flux in the constant or static machines. So usually based on the rotating parts or based on the moving of your machines, the usual based on the construction of your machines, there are two types of electrical machines are there. One is static electrical machine, another one is dynamic. What is the meaning of static? Means it is a static device which doesn't have any rotating parts. So what is the basic example for your static machine? Means your transformer. Okay, transformer. That's why in the definition of your transformer, what is the usual definition? Transformer is a static device which transfers the energy from one circuit to another circuit without any electrical connection. So you have two types of windings in the transformer. If you take the primary winding and secondary winding separately, there won't be any electrical connection between the two windings, but there will be some electrical energy transfer from primary to secondary circuit. So that is the meaning of transformer. It is a static device. What is the meaning of dynamic system? Is the device or the machine which will have some rotating parts in the system. So in the dynamic system or dynamic machines, your all DC machines will come into picture and all AC machines will come into picture. What is the meaning of machine? I am talking about machine, not generator or nor motor. Okay, so machine means you can take it as both generator and motor. You should not call one generator alone as a machine. If you take a machine, means either it can act as a generator or act as a motor based on the type of input you have given. Okay, so if you take a simple basic example for a machine, I'll take a machine. Now what I'll do is, if I give an electrical energy as an input, then if I get a mechanical energy, now I'll call this machine as a motor. So in the similar way, if I give the mechanical energy as an input, if I get the electrical energy as an output, then we call this machine as a generator. So we have two types of machines are there. Means a machine, either it can act as a motor or it can act as a generator based on the type of energy we are giving to the system or to the device. So that's why, so in the generators, we are talking about the generators. Why? Because Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction majorly takes part in the generating systems and in your transformers. So the first equation we will use in the transformer circuits. The first equation will be used in your transformers. In transformers, what we will do is, we will fix the number of turns in the transformer and we will vary the flux with respect to time by giving a alternating supply to the primary winding. So that's why here in the transformer you will get the induced EMF, and the type of induced EMF we call this as a statically induced EMF. We call this induced EMF as a statically induced EMF. And if you take the second configuration, that is by varying the number of turns, by keeping the flux as a constant value, then the induced EMF in this circuit, we call this as a dynamically induced EMF. We call this induced EMF as a dynamically induced EMF. We call this as a dynamically induced EMF, and this will be possible in your DC generators and both AC generators also. In both AC and DC generators, we'll get the induced EMF by fixing the flux as a constant value and by varying the number of turns as a variable quantity. How will vary the number of turns with respect to time means, will not vary the number of turns with respect to time, will vary the number of turns with respect to the space, and the space angle will vary with respect to time. So that is the usual meaning of your varying of n with respect by how will vary the number of turns. And we call these combinations as a different names, or we'll give separate names for this one. So let us discuss those things. So the first condition, or let us take it as a case 1. If I consider case 1, what is the case 1? By fixing the number of turns as a constant value and by varying the flux with respect to time. So what is the meaning of this one means, we are varying the flux with respect to time, yes or not? So here we are creating the time variation field, we are creating the time varying magnetic field. That's why this case 1 or this kind of configuration will induce an EMF with a relative time variation. We call this case as a relative time variation. Relative time variation. What is the meaning of relative time variation means, we are varying the, or we are getting the induced EMF by creating a relative time variation or time varying field in the electrical system or in the electrical machine. So what is the meaning of relative time varying means, let me take a coil. This is the coil we have, and for this coil what I'll do is, I'll connect another coil adjacent to this one like this. Then what will happen, if I connect a DC supply to this coil, what will there will be some DC current will flow through this coil. So because of this DC current, there will be some magnetic flux will produce because of the current flow. So this is the magnetic flux. Let us assume this is the current direction. Because of this current direction, we'll get the flux direction as like this. So once the flux direction is in this direction, so what is the flux linkage in the secondary? Assume this winding is having N2 turns, this is having N1 number of turns. Then what is the flux linkages in the secondary winding? The flux linkages in the secondary winding is equal to N2 into the value of flux. As the current is a DC current, then the flux is also a direct flux, or the current is a constant current, then the flux is also a constant. So as the flux is a constant value and the number of turns also constant, then what happens to the flux linkages? They are also constant. So because of these constant flux linkages, then what will happen to the induced EMF in the secondary winding? The rate of change of flux linkages, as the flux linkages is a constant value, then the induced EMF in this coil is equal to 0 will get. So that's why the transformer will not be connected to a DC supply. Why? Because there won't be any induced EMF in the secondary winding. But you should not connect a DC supply to the transformer again. Why? Because as there is no induced EMF in both the primaries and secondaries, so as the induced EMF in the primary is 0 and secondary is also 0, as there is no induced EMF, what will happen to the value of this current? The value of this current is equal to the rate, based on Ohm's law, it is the ratio of voltage to the impedance offered by this circuit. That is, let me take this impedance as Z. So as the winding impedance is very low in DC, then the current flowing through the primary winding, the current flowing through this winding is very high. Because of that one, this winding or this transformer will gets damaged. That's why we should not connect a rated DC supply to the transformer. If you connect a small DC supply, then the transformer will withstand, because the amount of current flow in the winding is very low DC value. Then the transformer, there is no transformer action in the transformer, but the transformer will not damage if you connect a low voltage DC supply. But if you connect a rated voltage DC supply, then the transformer gets damaged. So understood or not? So we should not connect the DC supply to the transformer. Why? Because there won't be any transformer action. Because of that, you connect a rated DC supply, your transformer will damage. Suppose this is the relative time variation. How you will get the relative time variation means by fixing the number of turns and by varying the flux with respect to time period. To get the variable flux with or time varying flux, what we have to connect? Instead of DC supply, we have to connect a AC supply. So let us take the same transformer winding again. So this is the transformer. Now instead of DC supply, we have to replace the DC supply with a time varying AC supply like this, V of T. So if you connect a time varying AC supply, then it will circulate a time varying current through the primary winding. Because of the time varying current, assume a time varying flux will pass through this transformer core. So once the transformer, let me assume a transformer core is there here. So because of the transformer core, the flux will circulate. So due to this flux passing through this secondary winding, there will be some induced EMF in the secondary winding. What is the value of that induced EMF means? It is minus Rn d phi by dt. As the flux is varying with respect to time, so you will get the value R, and the number of turns in the secondary winding is N2 if you consider. So this is the induced EMF. So usually it is a instantaneous value we have to take. Similarly, there will be some induced EMF in the primary also, that is E1 of T. Suppose how you will get this induced EMF means there will be some flux linking action. So if you want to understand the meaning of how you will get the induced EMF means, let me take the transformer core like this. This is the transformer core. On top of core we will have a windings like this. This is the transformer winding. This is number of turns N1, this is N2. Now here we will connect a AC supply like this. This is V. This is your V of T. So because of this one, you will get a time varying current I of T. So now by using right hand thumb rule, as you already know about the right hand thumb rule, what is the meaning of right hand thumb rule means, and why we are using right hand thumb rule? To get the flux direction or to get the current direction also. If you know the current direction, to get the flux direction, we'll use the right hand thumb rule. And if you know the flux direction, if you want to get the current direction, again we'll use the right hand thumb rule. Suppose take this pen as a current flowing through the current direction of your coil or any conductor. Then if you place the thumb towards the tip of or towards the current direction, the fingers which are wrapping this one will represent the flux flowing through, flux produced by this conductor. Suppose let me take this remote. I will assume this thumb as a current direction, then the fingers which are wrapping this conductor, I will assume this as a conductor. Now current flowing through the conductor is represented by thumb, then the flux produced by this conductor is in clockwise direction. Suppose if I take the same conductor, this is the core and these are the conductor or these are the current directions. If any current flowing through the conductors is representing, these four fingers represent the current direction, then this thumb indicates the flux produced by the mechanism like this. So there is two statements. It means if this thumb represents the current, the fingers which are wrapping the conductor represents the flux. If this fingers represents the current direction, then this thumb represents the flux direction. Now which right hand thumb rule I have to use here? Now you know the current direction here, in this direction current. How many currents are there here? 4 coils are carrying current. So now I have to use right hand thumb rule with 4 fingers. So I have to use 4 fingers as a current direction. Then my thumb is representing or pointing towards upwards. So my flux produced in this conductor or in this core will be in upward direction. So this is the flux produced by this coil, isn't it? So that is represented previously, or that is shown previously like this. So my 4 fingers are representing the current, then my thumb indicates the flux. So this is the meaning of that one. So these are my 4 fingers representing the current, then this thumb indicates the flux. So now this is the flux direction. Now the same flux will pass through the secondary winding and again it closes its closed path. Now see here, the secondary coil is carrying a current in the core, not in the coil, yes or not, like this. Now let us take this as a coil, means your conductors are circled over the core. Let me take this as a core. Now let us take this as a conductor or transformer winding on core. This is a core and these are the coils. Now in this core area, the flux lines are passing. Assume my four fingers are flux lines. Now in this coil, my four flux lines are, my four fingers are passing through this coil. We call this as a flux linking action. Flux is passing through the coil. We call this as a flux linking action. Okay, whenever my four flux lines are cutting this coil like this, if the coil is placed like this, if these four fingers are touching this conductor, we call this action as a flux cutting action. Whenever flux cutting action is there, there won't be flux linking. Why? Because let me take this, my four fingers, there won't be any flux linking. Why? Because whenever flux passes through this coil area, we call that as a flux linking. Whenever flux passes or touches the edges of your conductor, we call that as a flux cutting action. Yes or not? Now in transformer, what type of action is there? Flux linking action is there. Yes or not? So we'll use the flux linking action in the transformer to get the induced EMF. So because of the flux linking action, you will get some induced EMF here, that is E2 of t. So this E2 of t, how you will get this E2 of t means minus N2 into d phi of t by dt. So this is the amount of induced EMF in the secondary winding. So how you will get the induced EMF means, because of the flux passing, that is time varying flux passing through the coils, it will produce a time varying flux linkages. Because of that time varying flux linkages, we will get the induced EMF. Let us apply the same principle on the primary side also. This is the primary conductor. Consider it as a primary coil again. So you have a primary coil and the same flux is passing through the same coil. Let us take my fingers are primary winding. This pen is a flux. Now the same coils or some coils are carrying the flux in or flux linking action is taking place. Because of that one, here also will get the induced EMF. We call that induced EMF as a self-induced EMF. What is the meaning of self-induced EMF means? This coil is producing a flux. That flux again creating some induced EMF in this coil again. We call that induced EMF as a self-induced EMF. And the flux produced by this coil creates a induced EMF in another coil or adjacent coil. So then that induced EMF we call it as a flux mutually induced EMF. Why we will get the induced EMFs in these coils means because of the flux linking action created in the construction of your transformers. So this is how your induced EMF will be induced in your transformers. Okay. So how you will get the induced EMF in a transformer means by creating a time varying field. How you will get the time varying field means time varying fields is obtained by passing a time varying current in the system. This time varying current will be obtained by your time varying supply. So this entire configuration we call it as a relative time variation of your number of conductors and your flux. So that's why if you want to induce an EMF in any conductor, if you want to induce an EMF, what are the basic requirements or basic conditions means? Basic conditions to get induced EMF or basic requirements or conditions, anything you can take. What are the basic conditions you have to get? The first one is we should have some number of or set of conductors must be required and some flux must be required. And if you have a conductor and if you have a flux, can we get an induced EMF? No. So there should be some relative time variation or relative space variation between these two. If you have a relative time variation or relative space variation between your flux and number of conductors, then we'll get the induced EMF. Till now we discussed about the relative time variation. Let us discuss the relative space variation. with a simple example. So assume if you want to get the relative space variation, you have different configurations like rotating system, and you are even with the constant system also will get the relative space variation. That I'll explain with a simple example like this. So let me take a north pole, a magnetic pole like this. So assume this is the magnetic pole. So this is the magnetic pole. This pole will have a north pole and south pole. Assume I'll take different color. This is north pole, this is south pole. So as this is a permanent magnet, if I consider, this will produce a constant amount of flux from this one. Assume 4 flux lines are passing or obtained from this north pole or this magnetic circuit, if you consider. Now what I'll do is, I'll introduce a magnetic rails or your rails of your train track. If I consider, this is the train track, one track of your train, and another track if I consider here. Now one edge of this track, what I'll do is, I'll connect a voltmeter at one edge. I'll connect a voltmeter at one edge. Now these 4 flux lines are passing in between the tracks. Let me take as an example to show to you. Assume these 2 pens are your train tracks, and this is a magnetic pole or your permanent magnet. Assume from this place the flux lines are obtained or produced by this magnetic means. Then the flux lines will pass through this one, and my hand is a voltmeter if I consider. As this is an open circuit system, for some flux lines are passing through this system means there won't be any induced EMF. Why? Because this side of your system is open circuited, so there is no flux linking action. As I already explained, to get the flux linking action, there should be some closed loop coil. Then if a flux passes through this one, then that action we call it as a flux linking action. If you want, I'll show you one more time. So this is a magnetic coil or some coil. If my 4 fingers are flux lines produced by the magnet, then these 4 fingers, if these 4 fingers passes through this coil, then this is called as a flux linking action. Yes or not? Now if I take this as a conductors or a coil, open circuited on one end, another side there is a voltmeter connection. Assume voltmeter having some high resistance. Even though this is having a high resistance, one end is short circuit, one end is connected through a resistance, and other end is open circuited. If my 4 flux lines are passing through this one, there is no flux linking action here. Yes or not? As there is no flux linking action, you won't get any voltmeter reading here. Yes or not? What I'll do is, on top of this system, I'll place one more conductor like this. Now what is happening? Now on top of these 2 conductors, one side is connected with a voltmeter, other side I'll place my hand like this. Now this is a closed circuit now. This is a closed circuit now, after placing another conductor like this. Now if flux is passing through this closed coil, flux linking is taking place. If I move my hand in this direction or any direction, then the total number of flux lines passing through this one will change. Let me take my 4 fingers or flux lines like this. Now if I place my conductor here, what will happen? 4 flux lines are passing through this one. If I move my hand towards this side, now what will happen? My conductor is closed here, then only 3 flux lines are passing. Now flux is varying because of the movement of your conductor. Yes or not? So if I move this conductor with a velocity v, what will happen? What is the meaning of velocity v? Means, assume this conductor is having a length L here, and this is the actual position of your conductor, and this is varying with a speed of velocity v. What is the variation of this velocity? Means it is the variation of distance with respect to time. I can write so as the velocity, as the conductor movement is creating a variation in distance with respect to time. Now what is happening? If I place this conductor here, 4 flux lines are passing, so there is a flux linking action. You will get some induced EMF in this conductor or across this voltmeter. You can measure that value. So if I move this conductor to this place, then the position of this conductor is less than this value. So your means this position is changing. As the x value is changing, means we are varying the moving the conductor with some velocity means the amount of flux linkages or flux linking will in this area of cross section is changing. Because of that one, we'll get some induced EMF. We call that induced EMF as a dynamically induced EMF. Dynamically induced EMF. Why? Because this movement of your conductor is deciding the amount of induced EMF in this coil. Yes or not? So if you place here, 4 flux lines are passing. If you place the conductor here, then 3 flux lines are passing. If I place the conductor here, only 2. If I place the conductor here, there is no flux linking. Yes or not? So that's why the movement of your conductor or the rotating system, if I take this movement as a circular system, then the rotation is taking place. So if a movement of system is creating some induced EMF, so that induced EMF or movement body, we call it as a dynamic body. So a dynamically induced EMF will induce in this system because of the movement action of your conductor on this system. Okay, so we'll use this system in the rotating systems or your rotating machine to get the induced EMF. Suppose if I take a rotating body like this, now there are 2 possibilities to get the induced EMF in this rotating system. One is, what are the basic conditions or requirements to get the induced EMF? One is number of turns, another one is flux. So either you can change the flux by keeping n as a constant, or by changing the number of turns by keeping the flux as a constant. Suppose first configuration based on this one. So if I keep these conductors as a constant, usually wherever you place the conductors in the system, we call that body as a armature. Whenever or wherever we place the conductors, we call that part of your electrical machine is called as a armature. Wherever we kept or we produce the magnetic field for the production of your induced EMF, we call the system as a field. Now, if you rotate the field and if you place the armature as our conductors as a constant, we call that configuration. Or if flux is rotating, if flux is rotating by keeping this as a constant, what is that type of configuration is? Stationary armature and rotating field configuration or structure. Because the number of turns or the armature we kept as a constant body, and we are rotating the field of your magnetic system. So how that will be obtained means, I'll place the conductors here. So these conductors are, this is a static body. So this is a static body. I'll fix this body on top of your floor. Now in this one, I'll place the conductors like this. These are the conductors. So this is the third conductor. Let me take a dotted line. So in this one, what I'll do is, I'll place a magnetic field or rotating magnetic field. How I will get that one is, I'll take a rotor. On top of your rotor, I'll place a field winding, and this field winding is excited with a DC supply like this. Now what I'll do is, I'll make this, or I'll take this as a rotating body, or I'll connect this one to the external prime mover like this. So if prime mover rotates in clockwise direction, so this rotor will rotate in clockwise direction. So if I choose this is the current direction of your magnetic system, so here your north pole based on your right hand thumb rule. So this is the current direction. Thumb indicates the magnetic flux. So this is north pole you will get. This is south pole will get. So your north pole will be here at t equal to 0 if you consider. So if you rotate with the 90 degree, then your north pole will come here. If you rotate another 90 degree, north pole will come here. Another 90, north pole will come here. So your rotor is rotating because of the rotation of your prime mover. Let me take that also an example. So this is your rotor. So this is your north pole, this is your south pole. Now if I rotate this rotor by a 90 degree, you will get here. If I rotate by another 90, you will get north pole downward, south pole upward. If I rotate another 90, north pole here, south pole here. If I rotate another 90, you will get north here, south here. Means for 360 degree rotation, your pole movement will changing and your armature or conductor is keeping as a constant. So because of this movement of your conductor, either in clockwise direction or anti-clockwise direction, whatever may be the rotation. So because of the movement of your prime mover, there will be some induced EMF in these conductors. So if a conductor is placed here, you will get some induced EMF. Let me take that as a maximum, either maximum or minimum. That depends on the position of your rotor and your conductor. So assume this is a maximum EMF condition. When I place this rotor at a 90 degree, then what is happening? There is no flux cutting action here. So there won't be any EMF here. Again, if I place another 90, so here, previously if I consider, if a north pole is here, the induced EMF is cross here. If I consider, now after 180 degree rotation, what is happening? North pole is coming downward, south pole is coming upward. So here you will get, instead of cross, you will get a dot induced EMF. So because of the rotation of your rotor in this direction, or either in this direction or either in this direction, you will get the induced EMF in the conductors. And this type of configuration, we call it as a stationary armature and rotating field structure. Okay, let us take the another configuration. Instead of rotating the magnetic field, what I'll do is I'll fix the field and I'll rotate the rotor or conductors. So we call that type of configuration as a stationary field rotating armature. That type of configuration also will explain. So assume we need to get the stationary magnetic field. So this is the stationary magnetic field which is produced by the magnetic poles. So if you want a 3D diagram, this is the 3D diagram of your poles. Yes or not? What I'll do is I'll place a conductors in a circular fashion like this. So these are the conductors. This is the rotor of your rotating body, and here I'll place the conductors. One conductor here. So this is the conductor, and another conductors here. So because of the rotation, this is the magnetic flux produced by the magnetic system. What I'll do is, let us name these conductors like this: A dash, B dash. Now see here, if you rotate this conductor by using some external system, so if you rotate this conductors by using external prime mover here, now what is happening? Your conductor position is changing. Yes or not? So your conductor position is changing. So this is the conductor. On back side, the conductors are short circuited like this. So this is the second set of conductor. Yes or not? So this second conductor will be short circuited like this. So this is your B dash, this is your B. Yes or not? So whenever the flux is here, means whenever the conductors under this flux, or whenever the conductor is moving from one place to another place, there will be some induced EMF. But that induced EMF is again also called as a dynamically induced EMF. Here also, even here also we'll get the induced EMF. That induced EMF is also dynamically induced EMF. Why? Because we are rotating the prime mover. Because of the movement of your prime mover, we are getting the induced EMF. So because of the rotation of EMF, either field system or the armature system, we are getting the induced EMF. We call that induced EMF as a, what is the type of induced EMF? Dynamically induced EMF. Suppose if you want to explain that one, let me take, this is a conductor. Now what I'll do is, this is the B conductor. After 90 degree rotation, B conductor will come under south pole. Yes or not? After another 90, B conductor will come here. After another 90, B conductor will come under north pole. So because of the movement of your rotor or armature, the conductor position is changing with respect to your space angle. So that's why we call this configuration as a relative space variation. So whatever may be the configuration, so this is what is the type of this configuration we call? This is called as a stationary field and rotating armature configuration. Okay, this is called as a stationary field rotating armature. Whatever may be the type of system, whether it is stationary field rotating armature or stationary armature rotating field, whatever may be the type of configuration, we will get the induced EMF because of the relative space variation. Okay, so I hope you understood both the relative time variation and the space variation. Why? Because how you will get the induced EMF in any conductor means there are only two possibilities. Let me recap that one. There are only two possibilities. One is relative time variation, another one is relative space variation. Relative time variation is obtained in a transformer. How you will get the relative time variation? That is by passing a or by connecting a time varying supply to a winding. So because of this one, your time varying current will flow. Because of that one, time varying flux will be produced. Because of this one, you will get some induced EMF. We call those induced EMF as a mutually induced EMF or and statically induced EMF, self-induced EMF. And by combining these two induced EMFs are called as a statically induced EMFs. And what about the second configuration is relative space variation that will be obtained in a rotating body or in a movement of your any body in the physical system. I hope you understood both the configuration. So this will be used in your practical electrical machines, either motor or generator. Don't think that only in generator you will get the induced EMF, but even in motor also you will get the induced EMF. We call that induced EMF as a back EMF. So don't think that generator means only generator action will be there. That is not a correct option. In generator also you will have a motoring action. In motor also you will have a generating action. Okay, that we'll discuss in further classes, don't worry. Okay, so this is about the Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction in detail, and how you will get the direction of your induced EMF or polarity of your induced EMF means in statically induced EMF the polarity will be obtained by using Lenz's law, and the dynamically induced EMF will be obtained by using right hand thumb rule. So right hand thumb rule is Fleming's right hand rule is used, not right hand thumb rule, it is Fleming's right hand rule. So Fleming's right hand rule is used to get the induced EMF direction of induced EMF of your dynamically induced EMF. In this one, your thumb indicates the rotation or motion of your conductor. So what is the Fleming's right hand rule means? You have to take the right hand, place the three fingers, forefinger, thumb and middle finger in perpendicular action or perpendicular to each other. Your thumb indicates the motion of your conductor and forefinger indicates the direction of your flux, and the middle finger will indicate the direction of your induced EMF, but that is not the direction of induced EMF, that is the direction of your induced current, we have to say. Actually it is in any textbook they will specify direction of induced EMF, but that is not the direction of induced EMF, that is the direction of induced current we have to talk. Okay, so this is the direction of your induced EMF generally we can call, and this one is the flux, and the thumb indicates the motion of conductor. So by using the Fleming's right hand rule, we'll calculate or we'll get the direction of induced EMF. Direction of induced EMF means, in olden days, what is the meaning of direction of induced EMF? That is also I'll explain. In olden days, they used to represent the induced EMF or any voltage and current both with the direction only. So whenever you have a arrow direction like this, then we call this tip of arrow, we call it as a plus, and the other head of your arrow we call it as a minus in olden days. So this is called the direction of your induced EMF in the olden days. Later they replace with the polarities like this. Okay, so both we can call. So either we can call it as a direction of induced EMF, or usually we have to talk it in terms of direction of induced current. Okay, so this is about the Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction and how that law will work with the time varying field and your space variation. Okay, I hope you understood this one. I also enjoyed this session. Thank you very much.